Hello and welcome back to Learning the Discipline. Please put up with my voice today. I am sick. You're probably happier seeing me in video, not in person. Germs don't go through video so well. So let's go ahead and get to. All right. So first of all, in week 3, the postings are past due. The replies were due yesterday. We've had several people who are posting on time. They're doing awesome. Great. That's what we want to see. It makes sure that you have success in the class. You're getting the most out of the readings. Awesome. If you have not been posting, you need to do that ASAP. The main way that you can get in trouble with this class is by falling behind in the postings. You're not engaging with your peers. You're not getting the most out of it. And you're losing points for late postings. So if you have missed postings, go ahead and do them. Let us know that you've posted late. We sometimes get a ding from the system that we have late posts, sometimes we don't. So go ahead and let us know. Some points are better than no points, but you really want to make sure you're posting on time so you can be in those good conversations, and you can benefit from thinking and deeply about these concepts as we work together. So let's look at what we're going to do this week. This week we're thinking about facilitating student interactions, how we can really get students talking to each other in a class, how do we get more of, students sharing on their ideas, articulating their ideas back. That's where a lot of deep learning really occurs, and less instructor, student, student, instructor, LA, student, student, LA. How do we get them talking together? So here's what you're going to want to do this week. The first assignment is due on Friday the 6th. You're going to read this paper, Facilitating Student Interactions as a Learning Assistant, Why and How. You're going to look at this handout about types of questions, and then write your initial post. We'll talk about that more in a second. By Tuesday, you're going to respond to one peer, just one peer this week. And then also on Tuesday, you're going to post at least 2 questions about learning that you're curious about how students think in the class that you're an LA, or if you're not an LA, in a foundational class in your discipline. And at least 2 questions that you might have about how they're thinking about content or processes in the discipline. And we'll again talk about that more in just a second. All right, so here is our first article that we're going to be looking at. And this is by Betsy McIntosh from UC Boulder. And the beginning of this article is going to sort of reiterate some of the things we've been talking about, active learning, ways to implement active learning. And as we scroll down, we're going to see some of these strategies for facilitating student-student interaction, socio-behavioral strategies, cognitive strategies, and nonverbal strategies. And then below that, we're going to see some of the challenges that we can have with sort of trying to encourage those student interactions. All right. The second thing you're going to want to look at is this document that outlines different types of questions. So they're going to be arranged by Bloom's taxonomy, and they're going to be arranged by open or closed. And I want you to really sort of delve into this and use the examples to really understand what Bloom's taxonomy means and what open and closed means. And then on the next page, they give some ideas of the types of questions that start at those different levels. So like a remember question often starts at define, name, list, recall, versus a evaluate question that often starts with appraise, defend, support, argue. You can kind of see the differences in those types of questions. All right, after you've read those 2, you're going to come to the forum and do your initial post. Here's 5 questions you can reply to. You're going to want to reply to at least 3. So pick at least 3 of these questions that you want to answer. We changed the groups a little bit this time. We still want to have groups in the forum. It makes the readings a lot more manageable for students versus seeing the whole class discussion. It makes for a more intimate discussion. But we recognize that because a couple of people aren't posting like they should, there were some people who were in groups. It was maybe just 2 people. It's hard to have a conversation that brings in multiple perspectives if there's only 2 of you. So we reorganized the groups. They're a little bigger now. Every group should have 5 or 6 participants. So hopefully we have the benefits of those good group interactions. But if someone's not participating the way they should, it's not going to impact the rest of the group the same way. All right. Then we're going to do this activity where we're going to put those questions. So why are we doing this? Part of our final project for this class is that you're going to think of a class context. So if you're in LA, it's going to be the class that you are the LA in. If you're not in LA, it's probably a foundational class in your discipline. And you're going to look at the context of that course. You're going to look at how students are thinking about learning in that course and maybe how they're thinking about a certain concept in that course. And then you're going to collect some data, analyze that data, and think of the implications. And we're going to talk about that in a lot more depth as we move further on. But what we want to start with is what questions are interesting you? Where do you want to jump off? What do you want to know more about? So you're going to answer these 2 questions. So the first one is about learning environments. Educators are always seeking to create better learning environments to their students. To do this, they need to understand where students are. And so that might be thinking about their prior learning experiences, because their prior learning experiences have impacted how they view learning now. It might be their perceived learning preferences. Sometimes what they think are their preferences maybe isn't the best for them, but it might be. And we really need to know what their preferred ways are. It might be their perceived learning challenges. Where do they think the problems are in their learning, or what are they afraid of? Their perceptions of teachers. What is their perception of the instructor or the LA? Or maybe what are their perceptions of the role of a instructor in the classroom, the role of an LA? What is the perception of the content? I'm a chemist and I have students in my class who are excited about chemistry, and I have students in my class who are really not excited about chemistry. How does that affect our learning in the class? What is their learning goal? Are they looking for a good grade? Are they looking to understand specific concepts? Are they just excited about the material? What's their goals for being in that class? What type of support do they like? Are they looking for encouragement, extra practice, more time? How can we best support them in the class? There are lots more questions like this. So what I want you to do is, again, in your placement as an LA, or if you're not, a foundational course in your discipline, brainstorm 2 or 4 questions about the learning environment, about learners' experiences, that you would like to ask students to better understand their needs and goals and how you could support them in the classroom. All right. As educators, we also care about our disciplines, and we want students to learn in our classes. And one of the things we want to do is increase the concept and process understandings of students in their disciplines. So concepts might be, how does bonding work? I'm a chemist. But process might be, how do students engage in scientific argumentation? Those are both important skills that are coming out of the sciences. So in order to help students build their ideas, it's often useful to understand how they're thinking about concepts and processes. For instance, in chemistry, I might be interested in how students understand the relationships between quantum mechanics and the periodic table. I might want to know what they're thinking before they've done an instruction. What background do they have in that? I also might want to think about it after I've taught them. Where are they now? So that's something I might look at. If I was a musician, I might be interested in how students describe part writing errors and their function and composition. A student last semester did this project, and it was fascinating. I knew nothing about this before she did it. And so, you can find whatever fits your discipline. An educator might be interested in how pre-service teachers compare phonics strategies. A biologist might be curious about how students are choosing sampling procedures in ecology. Again, that process versus just content. A psychologist might want to know more about how students explain differences between short and long-term memory. There's lots and lots of possibilities here. And every discipline has questions like this. So what I want you to do is brainstorm 2 to 4 questions that you would want to ask students in your placement, or if you're not in LA, foundational course in your discipline, to better understand how they are currently thinking about concepts or processes in the discipline. These questions might serve as a pre-assessment. So what is students' current thinking so the instruction can build on that? It might serve as a post-assessment. After instruction, what are students' ideas about the concept that you can determine, what's working really well? What changes do we need to make in instruction? How might I want to build on this in future classes so that it's useful? It might be, how they're connecting something in the classroom to their real-world experience. Once you've come up with those questions, you're going to then label each one as it relates to the Bloom's taxonomy we were talking about before. So is the question a remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, or create question? And your 2 to 4 questions, they might all be different in Bloom's taxonomy. They might be the same. All right, we're then going to give you some feedback. Think about these questions as we move into the project. And you might say, hey, why do I have to come up with the questions before I know what the project's about? The reason for that is we really want to forefront what you're interested in and where you want to go with this. So we want to push that questioning first, and then we'll tell you more about what we're going to do with it in a little bit. All right, if you have any questions or concerns, please let Dr. Sabella or myself know. And we're looking forward to, again, reading your discussions this week, seeing what your questions are. And I hope you have a good week.